keep it simple. Really, just don't try to complicate your life. Life is already complex. Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, welcome to my channel. My name is Rosie. I'm a registered dietitian, and I want to share with you 10 healthy eating habits that you can start right now. So you may be just trying to get your life together, having your New Year's resolutions, or you may just want to feel better about your body. Maybe you've started to notice that you don't feel good and you're thinking that it has something to do with what you're putting into your body. Don't worry, you're in the right place to learn 10 tips on healthy eating, and I really wanted to make these tips simple because healthy eating doesn't have to be complicated. So in today's video, I'm going to give you 10 tips that are really simple and that you could start right now. So my first tip, and this tip is so important, and without this tip, it's really going to be hard to implement the other steps and the other suggestions that I make. So the first thing is to change your mindset around healthy eating. And I know a lot of the time we hear about mindset, but it's so important just in life. But when it comes to healthy eating and nourishing your body, you really have to change your mindset around what you think it is, and also remind yourself that you can eat healthy. I often hear from a lot of different people that, oh, you know, I wish I could eat healthy, or I want to eat like you. And I'm thinking, like, why can't you eat healthy food? What's stopping you? And a lot of the time it is an internal belief that they have about themselves that they just can't do it. And I want you to change that mindset to know that you can nourish your body in a way that makes sense to you with these delicious and nourishing foods. So that is my first step, and we're really not going to get anywhere if you don't work on that. And that takes time. So this is a journey. This is going to take time. You don't just develop habits in one day. It happens over time. So just like you develop certain habits, it's going to take time to unlearn those habits. So you have to have the right mindset to know that you can actually unlearn them. Tip number 2 is to cook more of your meals at home. This is a real game changer. Preparing your meals at home is such a great way to eat healthy because you can actually see what is going into the food that you're eating. When you're ordering food or going to restaurants, it's convenient, it can be nice, it's also very social, but you don't know what is actually going into the food. And what I mean by that, you don't know how much like fat or sodium is going into the actual food. So something can appear to be very healthy and nutritious, but you actually don't know what they put into it to give it that really amazing taste. But when you're preparing foods at home, you can actually see what you're putting into the food. You're in control of the ingredients that you use, and therefore you have a better understanding of what is actually going into your body. And another bonus is like you're not giving all your money away to these takeout apps. And I know I'm speaking for myself personally, where I just was ordering so much takeout at some point, and I'm just like, how, why, where, who, when, you know, like all these questions on how did I get to this point and why am I ordering so much food? And the thing was, it was that it was costing me money. Sometimes I didn't even save time because these apps, you know, they would tell you it would take 30 minutes and then it would keep saying that it was delayed, where it got to a point where I could have even made my own food and I would have already had it and it would have been great. And then the saddest thing is when you get your food and it doesn't even taste good. So you spent all this money, you spent all this time, and then your food doesn't even taste good. So preparing your meals at home, you learn new skills, you can try new foods, and you can actually see what is going into your food. So my next tip is really closely aligned with the second tip, where the number 3 is to meal prep. This is a big one. Meal prepping can really be a game changer, and it's something that takes time to build the habit. Meal prepping, I know you might look at some videos where it shows you these huge productions of meal prep, and it doesn't have to look like that. You can literally start with just preparing different ingredients for things instead of preparing entire meals. And what I mean by that, so for example, let's say you want to eat more fruits and vegetables, but the whole process of washing them, peeling them, whatever you need to do to them, you just get like, you don't want to do that in the moment. So what you can start to do is to meal prep those ingredients so that you have them ready, so that when you are hungry and you want to make something, you already have those things ready to go, that you can just add them into whatever you're preparing, which can help you to eat more nutritious foods because you are preparing those healthier items in advance, and now you're just adding them to the bigger meal. So don't get intimidated by 7-day meal preps with every single meal throughout the day. You don't have to do that. You don't have to start there. You can start small by just preparing ingredients for certain items. So even if that's starting with your breakfast or one snack per day, just think in advance about what you eat. Think about when you start to get hungry and prepare in advance. It's really a game changer and can help you eat healthier. The fourth tip, And one that might be a little bit more on the challenging side, but something that you can learn to do, is to read food labels. Reading food labels can really help you make more informed choices about what you're eating. Sometimes we think things are healthy and good for us, but when we actually look at food labels, they're not. You know, a lot of it is marketing and what, you know, sounds nice or what's trendy. But when we actually look at what is in these pre-packaged products, they may not be all that nutritious. I'm specifically thinking of, you know, all these health foods that are marketed as like high in protein, high in fiber, all these different things, but sometimes they're high in a lot of other things that we don't actually want more of. So it's so important to read food labels. Let me know in the comments if you want me to create a video on reading food labels to help you better understand what things mean. But take time to actually read ingredient lists, read the label, the nutrition facts panel, read the nutrition claims and the health claims, and then think critically about if this makes sense for what you are trying to do. But reading labels is another great way to learn how to eat healthier. And once you start to build that habit, it will become simple and something that you do more regularly. One thing I want you to know is that reading labels is more of like a guide for you to have a better understanding for your goals. It's really not something to become, you know, obsessed with or to be really hard on yourself about. This can happen often when we are trying to follow different diets, where we get so consumed on what we can't have and really lose the joy and pleasure of eating. So I think it's important to always know, you know, how you respond to certain things, and if some things maybe you start to become obsessive over, maybe stop doing them and think of a better way to work towards your goals. This leads me to my next tip, which is all about thinking about what you can add to your diet instead of what you should remove. Really think critically. If you're someone who has been used to yo-yo dieting and being on all these different diets, think about how you actually feel when you're removing, you know, whole food groups from your diet. Is this something that is sustainable? Is it helping you to reach your goals? Is there another way for you to eat nutritious foods and get the goals that you want? So I think when you think about what you can add to your diet instead of what you have to remove, it's a great way for you to eat healthier, right? When you start to restrict yourself of things, you tend to want it more. So instead, think about what you can add to your diet instead of what you can remove. So my next tip, and I kind of touched on this, but keep it simple. Really just don't try to complicate your life. Life is already complex. Keep it simple. Start with simple foods and start small. So I know it can be hard nowadays with social media to see all these different images of things that look so tasty and good. And if you're someone who's new to being in the kitchen and cooking your meals, you might think like, well, what's the point of me trying to even do this because I know I can't? Firstly, you can. It takes time, but you also don't need to start there. You can start small. Even if it's just simply preparing something like oatmeal or preparing a snack where you don't even actually have to cook, but you're just pairing like carrots and some sort of nut butter. Start there. Start small. Start with something simple. And really, we're trying to get you to build habits that are long-term, and a great way to get there is to start small. Maybe that's by preparing snacks. Maybe that's even just starting to look at recipes online. Maybe you're just starting to create a recipe binder for yourself or a recipe folder of things that you want to make, right? Instead of you feeling discouraged, you actually start to feel empowered by looking up things that look good and thinking about ways that you can make this at home and make it with your own spin. So start small and keep it simple. So we're already on our 7th tip. It is to eat more fruits and vegetables. I think this is so important, but also one of the most difficult things for people to do. I think for myself, one of the reasons why I do struggle with this is because of the preparation that it often takes to prepare fruits and vegetables, whether it's even just peeling them or dicing, cutting, slicing, whatever you need to do to fruits and vegetables, the washing. A lot of, the other foods, they already come prepared or there's a lot of things already done for you, so it's a lot easier to just eat them. But when it comes to fruits and vegetables, it can take more time and effort, but they are so important to have. If we're talking about healthy habits, eating more fruits and vegetables, very, very important. To add more fruits and vegetables into your diet, get creative. Add them to smoothies, add them to pastas, add them to rice dishes, add them as sides. Make them the main course of your meal. Get creative about how you use them, and don't be afraid to do something that's out of the box. And another thing too, don't be afraid of using frozen vegetables and fruit or canned vegetables and fruit. They're very nutritious options and they're already prepared, so that takes a lot of the work out of preparing them. So that's another great option, and it's something that I use all the time. I'm someone who uses a lot of frozen fruit because my fruit tends to go bad very quickly, but when I have frozen fruit, it doesn't go bad and I can just add them to different things. So that's another option for you as well. My next tip, and one of my favorite tips, is to embrace your cultural food. I'm a big advocate for eating your cultural foods, thinking about what your ancestors ate and integrating that into your diet. I believe food is way more than just the nutrients it provides. Food is part of culture, traditions, celebrations, memories, all these different things, social gatherings. And for me, making sure that I eat food that is a part of my culture is part of my health and wellness. So I encourage you to think about what foods come from where you're from, what did you grow up eating, and ensuring that you integrate that. That is because that is a part of health as well. And if we're talking about eating healthy, embracing your cultural foods, thinking about the foods that you grew up eating, thinking about the foods that your ancestors ate is a big part of that as well. So find creative ways to add that to your diet and don't feel guilt or shame about it. Embrace them and enjoy them. And remember that food is so much more than the nutrients it provides. And having those traditional foods is a big part of health and wellness. So number 9, we're almost done. This tip is all about do what you can where you're at. And so what I mean by this is that this is a process, like I mentioned before, but it's important to know that you have to start somewhere. Gather information, take steps to implement it, but start somewhere and don't compare your chapter 1 to someone's chapter 20. That's just gonna leave you miserable. With this day and age, with social media, it's so easy to compare ourselves, but does that even get you anywhere good? I know it doesn't get me anywhere good, so I wouldn't want you to do that to yourself. So just start somewhere, do what you can where you're at. And I also want to add that, you may be watching this video and think, well, there's so many different things that I could do, and I maybe have a limited budget, or where I live, I don't have access to all these foods. And I understand, I've been there. And that's why I also emphasize why it's important to do what you can where you're at. And it does take time, and that can be a privilege, but just trust that you can do something regardless of whatever stage you're at. And understand that, our system is broken where people are unable to afford basic necessities like food. But in the meanwhile, while you're trying to manage with the situation you're in, try to do what you can with where you're at. And my last tip is listen to your body. Okay, wow. Listening to your body, it may sound simple, but it's actually so complex because we've been given so many different messages about what we need to do. So confusing. Like, it's so confusing, even for myself as a professional. That's why you need to give yourself grace. You need to start somewhere and try to listen to your body. First thing I want to add is that it can be very difficult. If you're somebody who has been a chronic dieter for years or decades, it can be difficult to start to listen to your body and listen to what it's telling you. If you're someone who's lived in food security where food was scarce and you weren't able to have food on a regular basis, it's going to be difficult to listen to your body. These are all very real situations. And if you're someone who's an emotional eater, that's also a very real situation where there's so many other things going on that it can be difficult to do that. But you can get there. It is a process. You can start to tap into your intrinsic knowledge about your feelings of fullness, your hunger cues, things like that, but it does take time. So try your best to start to get into the habit to practice mindfulness and practice mindful eating, which means that you eat with intention and attention. So you eat with, a purpose, and you pay attention to what you're eating. So making food a real experience. That's going to take time. It will take energy, but it is so worth it to get to a point where you have a better relationship with food, where food no longer is a place of stress, anxiety, and worry, but more of a place of nourishment, enjoyment, love, and pleasure. And you can get there. Something I'm continuously working on. It's a life lifelong process, but I think it is so worth it to go on that journey with yourself to build a better relationship with food. So I hope these healthy eating tips were helpful. These are some things that I work on applying in my life too. It's definitely can be challenging, but it is so worth it. If you like this video, definitely like the video and subscribe to my channel. I'll be sharing more content on food, nutrition, health, and wellness. Definitely leave me a comment to let me know what tip you're going to implement right now and what was something new to you. I'm here to help, and I can't wait to, continue this journey to help you find ways to nourish yourself and nourish your communities. Thank you. Talk to you soon. Bye.